Charles Moon of Trading Advantage joins me now for Stocking Up. And we should call this Stocking Down because Charles is looking at some stocks to either short or sell. Good to have you here, Charles.
Thanks for having me, Angie. I'm glad to be here.
So the main sector you're watching is what's going on with athletic apparel. What do you see in this sector?
A lot of weakness, most notably Under Armour made a really nice rally, especially off of earnings, and they've gone straight down since. We're going to keep an eye on this, of course. The one thing to watch is the NBA playoffs.
Steph Curry?
Steph Curry, it's that Steph Curry theory. It's the same thing with golf, Jordan Spieth. Usually when they're performing well, UA is very responsive to the upside. And then, of course, we have Nike in the news. They offered a $1 billion deal to LeBron James. What is that going to weigh on in their margins in the long term? Sure, they have their own brand, but they're going to have to sell a ton of shoes. LeBron James is a big name. It's not like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan's vastly different in terms of sales than LeBron.
He's the king.
Absolutely. And we've seen this weakness. The technical weakness is the breach of these lows and the extension. And of course, if the Dow's moving down, you're going to have to be really cautious on Nike. I'll actually think that Nike will feel the weight of the Dow components moving lower. We've seen the actual reversion to the downside in the market weakness, and we're going to have to keep an eye on that.
Now, Charles, for people who are not comfortable shorting stocks, because that does involve a broker and holding and margins and a lot of sophisticated, crazy things. If somebody just wants to look at Nike and Under Armour and find that buying point, in your trader mind, where would that be?
Honestly, it could be as far as 10% down. No, ultimately, I actually think Under Armour is at that buy range right now. What I'm going to need to see is the actual basing pattern. Basically, it's going to hit these lows and kind of go sideways. And once we start seeing this perk up, especially if the market moves back higher, which is what everybody's anticipating here, the SPY is approaching that 200-day moving average. They're going to look for that technical support. That does come into play. Most notably, I actually prefer Under Armour over Nike in terms of a technical setup and the actual reward to risk opportunity. If Steph Curry performs well, and then all of a sudden Jordan Spieth is in the headlines again, either leading a golf tournament or winning the golf tournament, and we see that basing pattern, I'm going to say go all in on that Under Armour and look for that upside play.
Are there other retail names that you're watching in this space? I know the other day you talked about RL. Any other names that you're watching?
Oh yeah, I'm looking across the board. LB just came off of earnings. This is
L Brands.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, wow, they've had some real technical weakness. We've seen Fossil here. Fossil just absolutely slammed to the downside. Gap was another one that slammed to the downside. So we're seeing this weight being felt. Now, there's been some plus positive reports to the upside, and we've seen retail reflect in that manner, but the trend has been down. I'd be very cautious about buying because there's a lot of momentum to the downside. Same thing, wait for it to settle. There's going to be key technical levels across the board, but ultimately you're going to look for that basing pattern and that retracement. When it takes out that most recent swing high to that upside, that could be that leading indicator to the breakout up north.
And then in plain speak, what would be just the notations you would make as a trader?
Ultimately, look for the lows to be set, no new lows coming in, and then if we see that buying and the market turning up, that's the sector you're going to be looking for in terms of short-term opportunity.
That's when you come in and buy.
Buy market. Get on in.
Two hands, buy.
Bye.
Bye to you. Thanks so much for being on the show. Awesome job. Thank you
for having me, Angie.